The night the city smelled of burnt sugar, everyone believed something sweet was about to happen. It drifted through the narrow streets like a rumor, warm and impossible to ignore. Leia stood by her window and breathed it in, knowing that sweetness could also mean fire. She had learned that lesson early, and it had shaped the way she walked through the world. Careful, chin up, heart guarded but not closed. They called them names, the women who lived above the old bakery on Rue des Ormes. The building leaned like a tired old man, and yet every morning light spilled from its windows as if it were laughing at gravity. Leia lived there with Nora and Camille, 3 women tied together by circumstance and choice. The city had its verdict ready before knowing their stories. It always did. Words were easier than understanding. Leia worked nights at a call center, listening to strangers pour out anger and grief, absorbing it like a sponge. She had come to the city with a suitcase and a promise to herself that she would never again be small. Her father had taught her silence. The city taught her noise. Somewhere between the two, she was learning to speak. Nora was the baker's daughter who never inherited the shop. When her mother died, the bakery closed and the ovens went cold. Nora refused to leave. She rented the apartment upstairs and learned to bake at night, secretly, using borrowed ovens and donated flour. She believed in the memory of warmth, in the way bread could heal a morning. Her hands were always dusted with flour, like evidence of a crime she was proud to commit. Camille arrived last, with paint-stained jeans and eyes that watched everything. She was an artist who had learned the hard way that talent does not protect you from hunger. She painted bodies not as objects, but as landscapes marked by storms and survival. The city called her work provocative. She called it honest. When she laughed, it was sudden and bright, as if she were surprised by joy every time it found her. The challenge they faced was not poverty alone, though it stalked them daily. It was judgment, heavy and relentless. The whispers followed them down the street. Mothers pulled children closer when they passed. Men stared too long, then sneered when their looks were not returned. The word people used for them was sharp and careless, thrown like a stone. It hurt not because it was new, but because it was lazy. One winter evening, the landlord posted a notice on their door. Rent would increase. Repairs would not be made. If they could not pay, they would leave. The paper trembled in Leia's hands as she read it aloud. Silence filled the room, thick and bitter. Nora broke it first. She said they would not leave. Camille said they would fight. Leia said nothing, but inside her chest something hardened into resolve. They had been pushed before, bent before. This time they would stand. Their plan was simple and terrifying. Nora would reopen the bakery, officially, with a temporary permit and community support. Camille would organize an exhibition in the bakery space, turning bread and bodies into a conversation about labor, skin, and dignity. Leia would do what she feared most: speak. She would tell their story to anyone who would listen. The weeks that followed were brutal. Paperwork piled up, permits were delayed, supplies were scarce. On some nights they ate only bread and weak tea. Leia's voice shook the first time she stood at a neighborhood meeting, facing folded arms and narrowed eyes. She spoke anyway, about work, about survival, about how easy it was to label women instead of helping them. Not everyone listened. Some laughed, some left early, but a few stayed. An old man remembered the bakery from his childhood. A young mother asked if Nora could teach her to bake. A student lingered over Camille's sketches and asked questions instead of making assumptions. The opening day arrived under gray skies. The bakery smelled alive again, yeast and heat and memory. Camille's paintings lined the walls, not to shock, but to invite reflection. Leia stood by the door, welcoming people with a smile that felt earned. There were moments of fear. A group of men shouted insults from across the street. A critic wrote a cruel paragraph online. The landlord sent another letter. Each challenge threatened to unravel what they had built. Each time, they chose to respond together. What changed them was not sudden acceptance, but steady recognition. The bakery became a place where people gathered. The art sparked conversations. Leia found that her voice no longer trembled. The name people used for them began to lose its power. stripped of meaning by reality. One evening after closing, the three women sat on the floor, backs against the warm oven. Nora shared bread, breaking it with care. Camille leaned her head on Leah's shoulder. Outside, the city moved on, loud and indifferent. Inside, something quiet and strong held. They had faced hunger, judgment, fear, and the constant threat of loss. They resolved them not by becoming harder, but by becoming clearer about who they were. They refused to shrink. They refused to be defined by a word. The inspiring truth they carried forward was simple and demanding. Dignity is not given by permission, but built by presence. Sweetness, like sugar, is natural to the skin only when it is earned through labor, resilience, and love. And when people try to burn you with their words, you can still choose to rise, warm, and alive, filling the street with a scent that says you are here and you will not disappear. Suba jab aayi, शहर ने अपना रंग बदल लिया था. रात की मिठास हवा में अब भी थी, लेकिन उसके साथ थकन और डर की हल्की सी बू भी मिली हुई थी. लेया ने खिद की खोली तो नीच गाली में लोग अपनी जिंदगियों को उठकर चल रहे थे, जैसे हर कोई किसी और जंग के लिए तैयार. उसने महसूस किया कि उनकी लड़ाई ब्याज से सिर्फ उनकी नहीं रही. नोरा सुबह से पहले ही उठ चुकी थी. किचन में पूरे बर्तन की आवाज आ रही थी, जैसे कोई गुजरा. वह उठ फिर से बोलने की कोशिश कर रहा हो. उसके चेहरे पर नींद का मज़ीद ज़्यादा थी. आया उसने फैसला कर लिया था कि यह बेकरी जिंदा होगी या फिर उसका ख्वाब हमेशा के लिए दफन हो जाएगा. आता कम था, पैसा और भी कम, लेकिन उसके हाथ रुकने के लिए तैयार नहीं था. कमील ने अपना कैनवस उठाया और नीचे उतर गई. उसमें बेकरी की दीवार को देख जहां पेंट उतरा हुआ था और पुरानी दीवारें साफ नजर आती थीं. उसने सोचा कि यही दीवारें उसकी तस्वीरों की याद बनेंगी. हर क्रैक कहानी था, हर दाग एक जख्म. उसने रंग मिलाए, जैसे अपनी ही जिंदगी को दोबारा समझने की कोशिश कर रही हो. लेया का दिन सबसे मुश्किल था. उसे फिर से लोगों के सामने बोलना था. पिछली रात की हिम्मत अब सुबह की रोशनी में हल्की पाद रही थी. कॉल सेंटर की नौकरी उसे तय कर चुकी थी, लेकिन आज उसका बोझ और भारी था. हर कॉल के बाद उसके दिल में सिर्फ एक सवाल घूमता. क्या लोग सुनना शायद भी हैं या सिर्फ बोलना जानते हैं? शहर का रवैया आसान नहीं हुआ. बेकरी का बाहर लोग रुक कर देखते, कुछ मुस्कुराते, कुछ सिर हिला कर आगे बढ़ जाते, कुछ आंखों में क्यूरियोसिटी, कुछ में वही पुराना जहर. एक औरत ने नोरा से पूछा कि क्या ये जगह टेक है बच्चों के लिए. नोरा ने मुस्कुरा कर कहा, ये जगह जिंदगी के लिए है. और चुप हो गई, जैसे जवाब बस पसंद आया हो या उसी हल गया हो. दोपहर को लैंडलॉर्ड आया. उसकी आंखों में सिर्फ हिसाब थी या कोई कहानी नहीं. उसकी सीधी बात की बेजोर वक्त के बारे में. लेया ने पहली बार उसकी आंखों में आंखें डालकर जवाब दिया. उसने कहा कि वो सिर्फ किराएदार नहीं बल्कि इस जगह की रूह है. अगर ये जगह गिरी तो शहर का एक हिस्सा भी गिर जाएगा. लैंडलॉर्ड कुछ नहीं बोला, बस जला गया. लेकिन उसकी खामोशी भी एक चैलेंज थी. शाम होत बेकरी में खुश लोग जमा हो गए. रोटी बाइक रेडी तस्वीरें देखी जा रही थीं. कमील ने देखा कि एक जवान लड़की उसकी पेंटिंग के सामने खड़ी रो रही है. लड़की ने कहा कि पहली बार उसे अपना जिस्म शर्मिंदा नहीं लगा. कमील ने खुद ने कहा बसर हिल दिया. कभी कभी तसल्ली लफ्ज़ों से नहीं मौजूदगी से मिलती है. रात को टेनन फिर से ऊपर कमरे में निकलती हुई. टैकन उनके चेहरे पर लिखी दिल, लेकिन आंखों में कुछ और चमक थी. आज भी मिसाल खत्म नहीं हुई फीस. पैसा अभी कम था, लोग अभी बटीन बना रहे थे. लेकिन आज अनहोनी देखा कि बदलाव मुमकिन है, चाहे देर ही क्यों न हो. इस चैप्टर का सबसे बड़ा सच यही था कि हर लड़ाई शोर से नहीं जीती जाती. कुछ जंगें रोज की छोटी कदम मांगती हैं. हर रोटी, हर तस्वीर, हर बोलता हुआ लफ्ज़ एक जवाब था उन सवालों का जो शहरों पर फेंक रहा. हर उन्होंने तय कर लिया था कि वो रुकेंगे नहीं, क्योंकि जब इंसान अपनी जगह के लिए खुद खड़ा होता है तो ज़मीन भी यूजी पर चलती है.